There we go. All right. Today, have a very special guest, Z. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. I don't know about special, but
You're special for
okay.
us. So I'll set the scene. We're in the compound, Paul and Amelia's backyard, one of my favorite places on Earth in the Milky Way galaxy, right here. And what a cool day! So I didn't wake up thinking that I was going to be doing this podcast with you, which I always love those. I did plan on coming to see Paul, and he said, "Oh well, maybe I'll invite Keith or Z or see who else wants to come by." And then I showed up a little later than everybody, and the whole crew was here, which was awesome. Cool little moment, and everybody's left except for us.
Yeah.
And we're gonna. This is something I asked. I think the last time I saw you here, about 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
If you'd be willing to do it, and uh, the context, which I always do a bad job of, is we know each other. We met each other through Paul's meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think you've probably been coming here a lot longer than me.
12 years.
12 years.
Yep.
Wow, you're the biggest veteran of the message we've had on
Yes,
you.
yes. I remember Paul when he had a short hair, shaven.
Yeah.
Very different image, but he otherwise was the same then as he is
The
now.
message hasn't changed, right?
Yeah, right. Nothing has changed. No.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, 12 years. So I normally don't start with this, but just because the idea of 12 years is interesting. How did you find him?
There was a friend of mine that we kind of talked spirituality together and all of that, and he mentioned Paul. He said, "Oh, you might be interested in this guy." So I went there at his first meeting. I think it was in the city. I lived in the city then too, and wow, I loved it because he was the purest non-duality teacher that I have met so far, and even including now. And so I started coming to meetings in the city, and then later on when I moved to Marin, switched to Marin's meetings. So yeah, it has been 12 years.
Wow, awesome. Okay, so this is just a little, because it's interesting to me. What part of the city did you live in at the time?
I live in Park Merced.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
I love that area.
Yeah. It's great. Had a little. I mean, I was in a little townhouse, and it was just good times. The kids were small.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How many kids do you have?
Two.
Right on.
Two sons, which are now, wow. When I check their age, has it been that long? Yeah. It's amazing.
Right on.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I went to San Francisco State. So I had friends and hung out Park Merced, and then now still to this day, I have a very good friend that lives in, like, I guess it's the Sunset, but sort of in that similar area.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then I work out there too. So San Francisco has, I tend to lean towards the good parts of it. It has such a romantic, just cool feel to me. I know it's a pain in the ass because of traffic and homeless and I get it, but I lean into the romantic parts of San Francisco.
Oh my God, me too. I mean, I love the urban side of it, just the little funky areas and all that. Nowadays too, when I want to have a good time, I go to the city, to my favorite hangout places, and I love city. Went to the suburbs, mostly because of kids.
Of course.
They were
Yeah.
good schools, whatever. And Novato was my spot, and I went away from Novato to another place, came back, and really enjoying being back. It's kind of I'm not going to go on about Novato. But
Yeah. No, but Novato represents Northern California.
Yes.
Which, there's a very special thing about Northern California.
Yes. And Novato is kind of an interesting version of it because it's a bedroom community. I think it started that way because it was furthest place from the town that firefighters were allowed to live.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it was totally from the very beginning kind of a somewhat semi-planned, or at least expansion of it, bedroom community. And even now it's a little gravitates that way,
Yeah.
as opposed to Petaluma, for instance, which is much more long established. It's Italian, old farmers, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, but Novato has its charms. Yes.
That's so interesting. So my wife's dad, who he passed away young before I met her, he was a San Francisco firefighter.
Ah.
And there's again a romantic's not the right word, but there's just this cool, gritty, but not in a traditional way. Like
Right,
it's
right,
San Francisco,
right.
interesting
Yes.
alternative to
Yes.
San Francisco firefighters.
Very much so.
And I had no clue of that, and that makes me see Novato in a whole new way.
Yeah.
Because I know that culture of San Francisco
Yes,
firefighters, especially like from the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right.
You know.
That's the time.
Yeah. Wow. Right on.
Yeah.
Cool. What a good take. I'm already learning stuff. I love it. Cool. Okay, yeah, so we sort of started at the end in a way. I do want to get back to your story as much
Right.
as possible. The question I like to ask as a launching off point for guests is, so obviously, pretty much everyone I've had on, definitely everyone I've had on, we got a clue somewhere along the way that the traditional story we were being told by our parents, by teachers, by the church, whatever, you know, by the man, we got a clue that wasn't the whole story, right? I like to say, like the Matrix, the metaphor. Maybe we're living in a Matrix, right? So the launching off point I like to use is the question of, when can you think of the first time you got a hint that there was a little something more going on?
Well, the first time was in 1972. I was living in Miami. The job got me there, and I got turned on to LSD.
Right on.
And I had pretty amazing experiences, which I'm not going to go into now. But that opened the door to me that was almost like another reality that we did not even suspect. That it's just so mind-blowing. And that led me to reading a book by Ram Dass called Be Here Now.
Okay, one of my favorite books.
Yes.
And Ram Dass was one of my guys. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
He really set me on the whole thing, and I read just about the entire bibliographic thing in the back of the book. All the books that he recommended or whatever,
Yeah.
I practically read them all, and that really set me into it in very definite way. Further confirming it, I went to Bali, Indonesia, and that was back in like 73, 74, and Bali was just entirely, unbelievably different place than it's now.
Of course.
Especially Kuta Beach was like one shack coffee shop with no electricity, just kind of lamps, gas lamps. And anyhow, I went to one of these, second day in Bali, I went to the coffee shop where all the backpackers, hippies, and would gather, and they were serving magic mushroom omelet.
Oh, shit.
And I had an inkling what it was, but I said, let's try it.
Yeah.
And so I tried it, and about 45 minutes later, I was launched into different world. I was at the beach, not very crowded, just the locals and few backpackers, and the thing just descended on me. And the best way to describe it was, all of the what I found later, precepts of spirituality, like being one with your environment, with everything, were there. Even though before I knew any of the theory of spirituality, any of the talk about it, and I would see the things with incredible detail. Like I realized that normally I filter so much of reality to what's in it for me.
Yes.
If there is nothing in it.
How does it pertain to me?
Yes,
Self-centeredness.
exactly.
What can this do for me?
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And I realized that one of the reasons why I felt so good, because I was looking for that. I said, why don't I feel like this all the time? And the best I could come up with is, I did not feel that thing. I was just seeing the things kind of as they were. And the what's in it for me was not there. And many of the other precepts that were incredibly satisfying and just intoxicating. I mean, I just for next 8 hours I had on my face painted this smile that was just there, and I would speak to Balinese people without speaking any Indonesian, and they didn't speak any English. We would just speak in our languages. We would smile a lot, and we had a great time. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I even in temples there, in gatherings, they play chess. That's kind of what they got from the Dutch, and it's an established thing there. So I play chess. So I played with one of the guys, and I said, "Oh, okay, that will test how aware and together I am in this very realistic setting that required a certain amount of exactness and whatever, brain actions
and strategy.
And it was amazing. I loved it. I mean, I didn't care whether I was going to win or lose, but we had a wonderful game, and there were people around us. Anyhow, every experience there was pure magic that later on I discovered were what you're supposed to experience when you realize yourself or nature of reality, whatever. And that experience stayed with me to this day. Actually, that's what launched me into spirituality, because I said, how can I recreate that incredible feeling that made me feel one with it, that world is a benevolent place, that oneness with everybody and nature as well. I mean, it was a magical stuff. And later on, I found all of these realizations written down in holy books or whatever you want to call them, and that was kind of a launching pad for me. And to this day, I've been trying to recreate that. And I don't believe in gradual things, but there is definitely I'm traveling lighter, to borrow Paul's term, way lighter. And as I said once before, the only thing that stops me from realizing reality, my own reality, is the fact that I believe that I don't have it.
That's it.
If I change my mind, if I just realize, that's the only thing that's stopping me.
Yes.
And it has been a long journey. 50 some years.
Wow.
And I have sampled many paths, from Kundalini yoga to Tibetan Buddhism, Dzogchen, Kashmiri Shaivism,
all the good
you
stuff,
name
man.
it, all of the stuff, Zen, Chan, what have you. And I got a little bit from all of them. I met one of the Karmapas in Bali, actually in Hawaii, and gotten a bit from all of it. Muktananda in its days, when he was still small, just small group. It was an incredible journey of being in India a couple of times and experiencing this country, which is just a transcendental country. Especially it was in this day. I don't know how it is now. Just magical, and it seems like one of the things that I heard about it, that India augments all the experiences that you have, whether it's good or bad. It just multiplies them many times. And I had that feeling. Typically, when you walk down the streets in India, there are bullocks, these Brahma bulls, huge horns, and they roam freely. There is no shepherd behind. They just go down the streets. And whereas normally, they're very benevolent and just, going around their way. But if you are in a bad mood, if you're just kind of upset and ill at ease, they tend to send it, and all of a sudden they become seemingly, or at least seemingly, frightening. That they seem to be going for you. But it was amazing. And India is that kind of a place.
Well, it sounds like India is like a psychedelic trip in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. Yes, very much so.
Yeah. I got so much to say, man. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
So a good explanation of a psychedelic trip makes me feel like I'm on drugs.
Yes.
That's how
yes.
looking around Paul's yard,
Yes,
the colors are a
yes,
little
yes,
brighter.
yes,
So
yes,
thank you for
yes.
that gift,
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I have so much. I don't even know where to start. Yeah. First off, I I've always felt a certain um, kinship, as I do with a lot of people in Paul's groups, and it's always different flavors. And when you said psychedelics and Ram Dass, I go, oh, there it is. I never quite pinned it, because that, again, now I haven't listened to Ram Dass. I listened to him a lot because he just passed away in December, so I went through a little stint of going back and listening to him. But he served such a amazing, and he's very eclectic and he comes at it too from so many different angles.
Yes,
and in the end it's all the same truth through a
Exactly.
million different things. And so I can see so much in your sharing and everything. I see the Ram Dass, which is awesome, because that's a very for lack of a better word, a very
Heartfelt.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think there's something about, and we're all giving everything the meaning, but there's something about people that come to this through like a very sterile kind of Zen, like maybe the Japanese Zen or whatever, and when there's no piece of the heart,
Right.
you know, and
So
again,
true.
now to say head and heart is a duality, of course, but it's a pointing to something. There's a certain flavor and a certain living that can come through on these messages. And I, over the Zooms, many times in person, when Paul's giving the message, I'll get emotional and I'll cry and my heart will open up and all of that. And I think if you want to pin it on anyone, I could put that back to Ram Dass and his sharing. You know
Very
what I
much
mean?
so.
Yeah.
Yes. No, he was a heart man. And the thing that comes to my mind is I should give you the source of it so I don't misappropriate something that's
Of course,
not
yeah.
my thing. It's Nisargadatta's quote that my heart tells me I am everything, and my mind tells me I am nothing. And between these two banks, my life flows.
My life flows, yeah.
And it's true, because
which
I
is
do
one of
feel,
the most beautiful quotes.
Yes.
In this, yes.
Yes, I do believe that I am everything.
Yep.
But also I do believe that I am nothing. I'm just, and it gives me balance. It kind of, I don't know, in a weird way, even though it seems like a paradox, but it's not.
No.
In our mind, human mind, that thrives on logic and whatever.
Especially the left brain, right?
Yes,
It wants to
it's
divide
just,
and rationalize.
Yes, it's just so narrow, and it cannot comprehend another paradigm where there are no paradoxes. What seems to us as a paradox actually can go very well together. And that thing of heart and mind being just two aspects that got to unite.
Yes.
But you're right, many people have just one aspect, which is mind in Western society.
And you can lean the other way too,
You
and
can
go
lean
too
the
far
other way.
heart, and you end up in a bhakti where you're putting it on somebody, right?
Yes,
yeah, of course.
So the balance is so important,
Yes.
And I have been exposed to bhakti, and it is intoxicating. It does get you to the same place eventually, but it's kind of roundabout way, and it's if you're lucky, you get into somebody that's worth giving your whatever adoration to, but much of the time it's just the wrong people that just want aggrandizement, and they spout a good line, but there is lots of ego in it, and it's just misguided. But it's heart and mind, and they gotta unite, and I've been striving at that for a while, and I'm close to it. I think. Well, that's a silly thing to say.
Of course, yeah.
But
we know what you're pointing to.
I try to see how it is true. It's just two aspects of one thing, and I definitely relate to that part of
God,
it.
and then there's so much in the sharing of, particularly of the first psilocybin trip, that so much popped up for me. I don't even know where to start. One of the things that I thought of was Paul talks about free samples, which I love that metaphor.
Yes,
and I was like,
too.
you got like a free 4-course meal.
Yes. Oh man. Yes. Yes. Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, the gift. In fact, now I'm reading a book on LSD written by the guy that originated it.
Hoffman?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hoffman. Yeah, Albert Hoffman.
Albert Hoffman.
And it's a fascinating book because, as you know, he was a very respectable, straight as a
Scientist,
lace
yeah.
Swedish scientist,
Mhm.
chemist, and all of that. And yet he had these incredible experiences, and he saw it as such. For a while, it kind of tripped out into just tripping out, just having
Yeah,
a good time and
Uh-huh.
partying. But it's actually a very metaphysical thing. It really propels you into another reality, another paradigm, if you will, that stays with you. It doesn't, you don't
Yeah.
blank out like
No.
with alcohol or whatever.
Uh-huh.
It definitely stays with you.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful gift, like a free gift, if you
Yeah,
will, free
yeah.
sample.
Mhm.
They have played a big part in my life, and I have enjoyed them at the big distances. Like maybe years before, I would, do one trip, and they were always unbelievable. Some of
Yeah.
them in urban setting, like in New York, in Manhattan, and mostly my preferred setting is nature.
Yes.
Because
I agree.
what they say, set and setting is so important. You don't
Absolutely.
want any hassle, anybody hostile around you, not at that time.
You want to feel safe. You
And
wanna feel
safe
like you
and
can let go.
relaxed,
Yeah.
naked, and because you are, in a sense, you are really naked. You're
Yeah.
kind of raw,
Mhm.
and as such, you're open to everything. And when it's a beautiful thing, it really is magnified. When it's a bad thing, it's magnified too.
Yeah.
So I am lucky that I never had any really bad trips. But
Wow.
well, I had one that was kind of close to it, but
Uh-huh.
it was totally setting. I was living at a place that was in Boston,
Okay.
that was adjacent to the jail. In fact, I had a watchtower that one of my bedroom windows was looking at it, and also nearby was a hospital with the sirens, of ambulances
yeah.
going on, and as if that was not enough, also nearby on like three sides was a subway station, so you had
Oh,
trains
no.
just so for some stupid reason I decided to do it there.
Well, yeah,
And
'cause-
of course I lasted about 5-10 minutes. I just
You
couldn't
gotta get out
taste
of
it.
here.
It was so threatening, so I
Oh,
got
no.
out and went to the park, and then there were clouds, dark clouds, seemingly black all over. And so I said, well, anyhow, it just, the
Totally.
things were not going my way. And so it was not really horrendously bad, but it was
It
not
was on the
pleasant
edge. It
either.
could've
On the
gotten
edge,
bad. Yeah,
very,
yeah,
very.
yeah.
I had to remind myself that this too shall pass, and that, it's whatever. So that was as close as I had to the bad trip.
Right on.
But
Yeah, I've always I've had moments where I'll be like, uh-oh, that kind of on the edge. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is
yeah,
this
it
going to
could go
become
there,
a
yeah, but I
bad
don't
trip,
know.
right? And then sometimes it'll get so intense. I'll be like, okay, this is a bad trip. Like this is what
Right,
people have been talking
right,
about.
right.
And then there's this cool. It's a nice little spiritual lesson of like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm even surviving this.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
like
yes,
this,
yes,
this is
like,
what I was
yeah.
always so afraid of. Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
go through hell and
Right,
oh, shit,
right.
I'm still here.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
facing it tends to disappear.
Yes,
And
yes.
all of these theories, but it truly happens so as you focus the light of your attention on it. It's nothing there. It's collage of impressions,
Yeah,
and the images and whatnot.
And that is, that's it. And just as you said that, it brought up for me that the spiritual lesson, if anything, in a bad trip, is it is the tension of not wanting it that's creating
Right,
it.
right.
So the lion chases you as long as you run.
Right,
right.
right.
And the
That's
faster
well
you
said.
run, the faster the lion runs.
Right.
But the only way to get the lion to stop chasing you is to stop,
Right,
turn around,
right.
and face it. Right.
Right,
That's
right.
Jung shadow work. That's everything 101.
Totally,
And
yeah.
it's amplified on a bad trip.
For sure. Yeah, that's a
especially
great metaphor.
yeah, especially LSD.
Acid, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
It can go bad real quick.
I'm a great lover of it. In fact, I have somebody that wants to do it with me, and we're waiting for the corona to little die down.
Talk
because
about bad setting.
Yeah,
or
it's
bad
just
set.
not a good thing. So
Uh-huh.
I'm waiting for that, and of course I would love to have a nice sunny day, parks, maybe Golden Gate Park,
Yeah.
and then you have all the right setting for it, and yeah, I'm a greedy too for.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's got so much to offer.
Absolutely. And on the realm of good trips and bad trips, I was very fortunate. So my first psychedelic was psilocybin at 17, and
Wow.
I luckily, by the grace of something, stumbled across a book called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment.
I know that book.
Yes,
I love that book.
Yes, there we go.
I love
Look
that
at
book.
us. Be Here Now, Lazy Man's Guide to
my
Enlightenment.
God,
Go.
yes. I wish I had the copy of it.
Okay,
because
I got a copy for you.
Oh, fantastic.
So check this out. So it's out of print. So, okay, I'll give the whole little, I don't even know the name of the author. I wish I could
it's
look it up.
a Hungarian name.
And he wrote it in San Francisco, in the Haight-Ashbury.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Okay, so my little, this is like a Hollywood movie.
Right.
I was going to the Freight and Salvage in Berkeley to see a famous sitar player. I can't think of his name. I know at the time he was out of San Jose, and he used to play with Ali Akbar Khan and Ravi Shankar, the San Rafael kind of Indian music world. And so I'm going to see him, and I think that's the first time I saw live sitar too. I might be juicing the story up to make it sound better.
That's all right.
And there was a box outside of the Freight and Salvage, free books, and I go, Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment. I didn't even know what enlightenment was. I go, it's a small book. I can handle it. Right?
Very small,
And read it, and very much in the theme of finding Paul. A lot of it went over my head. I go, there's something cool here, but I can't quite fit it into a nice box. And the phrase that I remember, and I won't quote it perfectly, was, if you're going through, whether it be drug-induced or kundalini or whatever, if you're going through something and it's unpleasant, you don't like it, ask yourself the question, what was it you thought needed to be loved? Right? So if it's easy to love the feeling of oneness, right? It's easy to love the feeling of connection. But the fear of your total annihilation, can you love that?
Yes.
And then ask yourself the question, and again, it's beautifully written because it doesn't tell you to love it. It says, what was it that you thought needed to be loved? And the only rational answer is everything. Love the devil, love hell on earth, love insanity, because any hatred of it is the fuel that perpetuates the fire. Right?
That's the part that I got still in my mind, that whatever resists, it's got you.
Whatever resists,
whatever
persists.
you're shining away, it gains power. It kind of it takes you over. You give it a life. You give it existence. And I still remember that, and I remind myself oftentimes when I get into this resistance to whatever is happening in life, I said, wait a moment, you're giving it power. You are, just...
Paul would say you give it relevance.
You give it relevance, life, And so I still have that from the book, and the book is brief, very simple, but beautiful. He hits it, as you know, that's pretty much the same what you said and what I said is the message of the book from various angles, and that just whatever it is there, just accept it. If you resist it, it's got you. It's and that's timeless message that to this day I have use for it. I mean it just resonates with me so strongly. That's a gorgeous book. For years I have kept it and remembered his teachings.
Okay. Do you have the book currently? Because if not,
no, I don't.
Okay. This is what I have.
Oh my God, I would love that. I was, sometimes you want to refresh your memory. Did I get this right?
Totally.
Oh man,
Okay, so I think it was my 25th birthday. My wife looked everywhere for it. Went to the Open Secret. Went online, Amazon, couldn't find it, and she found a PDF version of it and printed it out for me on this really fancy, expensive, nice paper.
Is that?
And she kind of bound it and everything.
Wow.
So I still have the PDF. I'll make a copy and bring it for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, of course. It's
very important book to me, and one of the seminal books. Besides Be Here Now, which is the first and foremost. And I remember Ram Dass's retreats that were just a treat in themselves, from atmosphere to, Yeah, yeah, several of them that really stand in
Did you
mind.
see Ram Dass live?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
hell
yeah.
yeah. Okay,
I
cool.
had a meal with him. He was at one end of the table. I was at the other. And when he would see me, he'd say, "Oh, you old freak." Yeah,
Oh my
I mean,
God.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I saw him alive when he was in his prime.
Yes.
One
Before
was
the stroke. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
well
yeah.
before the stroke.
Yeah.
It was in Taos, in Lama Foundation, whatever. I
Mhm.
don't know if it still exists, but it was magical.
Of
Just the
course.
60s. Psychedelics,
Totally.
whatever,
Yeah,
love
Eastern
kind of
mysticism.
Oh my
Yeah.
God! So anyhow, beautiful setting. The words, so all of that. And the other one was I think Brighton Bush, which again it's
Okay.
hot springs somewhere in Oregon. Yeah, and he's very approachable. He just hangs
Yeah.
out with you, and
Yeah.
yeah, no, I always have just unbelievable memories of him, and he's like I have no words to express it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the dearest persons in my mind, and
Oh
just
man.
yeah, he's the seminal. He really, not only that he got me into it, but I knew this book by heart, and then I
Yeah.
had the sound of it or tape of it,
Mhm.
and it just it guided me until I really got into certain things like Paul's thing
Yeah.
and very sad things, but that was always my basis.
That's so cool,
Yeah,
man.
Ram
Yeah.
Dass
Oh my
and
God.
Lazy Man Guides to Enlightenment.
Uh-huh.
One of the
That's so
seminal
funny.
books.
So
Yeah.
those are the two for
Right,
me.
right,
I found
primers.
this is insane, and it's funny too because the age difference, right? So
Yes.
this is let's see, I was 17 in 2007.
Wow.
So this is 2007,
Wow.
2008 that I'm living
Right.
a reflection of
Yes.
late 60s,
Right.
early 70s,
Early
right?
70s.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, unbelievable.
yeah. And the funny thing about Ram Dass too, I found out about Ram Dass from my mom
Oh,
because she,
wow.
my mom was a deadhead. My
Oh,
mom,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And she had seen Ram Dass live a
Right,
couple of
right,
times
right.
and stuff. And so it's a funny story. I haven't told this on the podcast. I've pieces of it, but I'll put it all together. So so the Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment. And then always Alan Watts too.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Alan Watts
Yes,
was.
yes.
I always say Alan Watts was my Paul before Paul.
Yes, yes, yeah. That's a perfect
Yes.
analogy. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and it's funny too because I think he died of alcoholism, so
Yes,
that's
of
the
course,
funny. But
yeah.
in the messaging, you know what I
Yes,
mean, not
yes,
as the action
yes.
figures. In the messaging of Alan Watts,
Right,
it's very.
right.
So Alan Watts, Berkeley Public Radio, KPFA, as a teenager, and oh man, yeah, he's really on something, and then getting books on tape from the library and stuff like that and all that. So Alan Watts, the Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, and then the psilocybin trip.
Right, right.
And then right after that, now this is something that I know isn't in your story because it's only on my timeline. Eckhart Tolle.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, The Power of
yeah,
Now.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And so The Power of Now, I read the whole thing through, and I go, oh, this is really cool. The main thing that spoke to me was the idea of you're not your thoughts.
Right.
And I just go like,
right.
oh, God, how come no one's saying this?
Right,
Like,
right.
that's
Indeed.
revolutionary.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
And
yeah.
then my mom said, oh, you love The Power of Now, or you should read Be Here Now. Ram Dass. And then I found Be Here Now,
Wow,
and so
wow.
there's the little chronological of my little story
wow,
there.
wow.
And what was I getting at with all that? And then Be Here Now, it was like it brought me right back to that realm of the psilocybin
Yes,
world, because
yes,
you
yes.
come if you don't have good guidance, which
Right.
I didn't, and probably almost nobody did in your time,
Right,
outside of
right,
somebody like
right.
Ram Dass,
Right,
right?
right.
Could you say this is just? I love Ram Dass. This is just another channel.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
There's
yes.
channel 2, which is
Yes.
business as usual,
Yes.
getting right back to the
Yes.
Matrix, right?
Right, right.
The news, the get a good job, do good in
Yes,
school,
yes,
right?
yes.
And then guess what? Channel 2
Right, right. Just
the
flip the
depths of a
switch.
psilocybin trip.
Yeah, yeah,
where,
right.
Where Z barely even exists at all, if at all anymore. Nick is gone.
Oh,
Nick
I
is out
loved
to
it.
lunch.
Yeah, I loved it, and it made a big change in my life. I was in management position, climbing the ladders of
really
corporate thing.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
I love this
and then I
story,
got
man.
into psychedelics and spirituality, and I fairly shortly after that I resigned my management position.
Wow.
And it was in the airline business,
Uh-huh.
and I said no, I want to fly as a steward, as a flight attendant in those
Wow.
days. And people in management were looking at me, yeah, you lost your mind, or what's going on? So anyhow, I was never happier because it lacked the structure. Every day was different. You saw different people.
Yeah.
You went to different places. The structure was very loose, and it allowed me to have my outside interests and all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it made me change my whole lifestyle.
Wow.
Instead of trying to get ahead and all of that, all of a sudden I was fine with what I was. And,
You saw Channel 2.
Yes,
And
I
then
saw
Channel 2
2.
gave you a hint that Channel 1 can be a whole lot different.
Right,
than-
right, exactly.
You don't got to get lost in
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a huge change, and I appreciate it to this day because it was monumental change. Yeah, and funny you should mention Alan Watts. He and Ramdas were occasionally hanging together, and
Yeah.
Ramdas mentioned a story how he and Alan Watts got drunk on the altar wine somewhere. It was just typical Alan Watts.
Of course,
I'm sure that Ramdas went along with it, but and
That's so cool, man. Yeah, it's something I don't know if I've shared with you personally, but I say it to people on the podcast a lot that before finding Paul and this Sangha, it was my dream. Like I had this feeling of I wish I could have been there in the 70s. I wish I could have been there with Alan Watts, been there with Ram Dass, Allen Ginsberg, go down the line of and I was born in the wrong era, and I had this whole story set up, and because I was I didn't find in many other people that I could talk to about this stuff, that I could dive into this stuff with, right? And a piece of this podcast is I have found it, and I'm feeding that, like this is
that's fantastic.
It's a dream come true,
right?
And I mean, just this afternoon, walking up, seeing the master, he would hate for me to say that, seeing Paul and all of you guys, and being able to share in this this, and I've said this before, but I think I'll take this over Alan Watts and Ram Dass in the 70s.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the thing is too, you can romanticize things, of course,
Absolutely.
and make up your own, and Alan Watts is a funny thing in my little development of, like, I had this idea of I didn't have the best relationship with my dad, and so I was like, he's like a father figure to me. I had all these ideas, and there's been such a healing of, like, here I've heard interviews with his daughters that are like, he was not a good dad, like he wasn't around, and he was stuck in his own thing, and I go, oh yeah, he's human. He's an action figure. You can't idealize.
He was very human.
And obviously he had an alcohol problem,
Yes.
and I think I've even read quotes that he said things like, I don't like myself unless I'm drunk. I'm like that's heavy, man. Like, you know what I mean? And that's, and then it's a very immature attitude when you first come to spiritualities. You think, if the message is that good, the messenger's got to have it all together.
Right.
Of course,
right.
And the funny thing is, that is actually the exception.
Exactly.
Exactly. Most of the amazing messages are coming through messengers that really, it's Paul's used beautiful metaphors like it's too much wattage for a light bulb to handle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's a lot for the action figure to channel this.
Right,
and if you aren't, I really love the idea of empty. If you're not empty, if some Paul is allowed to come through with the message, if some Alan Watts is allowed to flow through with, if that personality, then it's going to be amplified.
Exactly.
In a very destructive way.
Yeah, and you're not open to downloads, as Paul says.
Yes.
Because you're so full of yourself, and full of concepts. There is no room for any downloads, or and it's so confining, so limiting. But I want to get back to 60s and 70s.
Please, yes.
I have feeling that that's one of the great times of humankind,
Of course.
similar to Renaissance.
Absolutely.
Which was everything was flowering.
Yep.
Well, in the 60s and 70s, it was love and all of it, fueled by lots of psychedelics.
Yes.
That was a real impetus because that's what you feel on those things. You feel love of all, and eventually you figure out that love is in you and it's coming from you. And you give it to objects, but you really don't need it. It's within you, and you don't even realize it. But anyhow, I just want to interject the one about 60s being very, very special in development of all humanity.
I agree, absolutely.
Just
I think we're so close to it that I just said this to a friend that's my age, so we missed it. We weren't around, But I was just saying to someone that I think we're too close to it to realize how revolutionary.
Totally.
Especially because I just listened again to the audiobook of Michael Pollan. Have you? He wrote the book called How to Change Your Mind, and it's a modern take on psychedelics and kind of he does a history and then he does kind of where we're at now with a lot of the therapy. John Hopkins has done psilocybin studies and all this stuff, and kind of where we're going. And the fact that the prohibition on psychedelics hit in I think mid 70s, something like that.
Yes.
That and we've completely demonized them, and in a way we're so close to it that we don't see it as a renaissance. But in ways it's maybe like there's people that say the reason that there's the internet is because of acid. There's the reason that there's like all the way down the line because to open your mind up to like, what if everyone was connected? You know what I mean? Like, no one even would have gone there, right? If not for the stuff penetrating.
You were a loony bird. You were just crazy.
Yeah. But the fact that those, I think, 100 years from now, the relevance will be given to the 60s and 70s more so even than now. You know what I mean? So I just
no, that's good. And I think one of its effects is it blows your mind. I mean, that's the expression that people use, and it's kind of accurate. It's literally it blows your regular mind, ordinary mind. That's very binary, very discriminating. Me, others, comparisons, all of that, and it blows it off. And you just see reality, and lots of people get scared from it. Just nakedness and
the ego, right? The ego's terrified of it.
Totally.
The separate self is terrified.
And but it's that blowing your ordinary mind is just people get scared of it because of the ego is disappearing and it's just not good. But I still as I it's in my plans to do that again, and I'd like to do it every year or two apart, and it kind of I don't know, no reason, I just enjoy it. So
it's a cool ritual. So so cool. So now I feel like I really got a good, and I think the listeners do a very good context and a very good space to see where you came at this stuff from. Now, one thing that I did promise Keith, and I promised myself I was going to ask you
Sure.
You do bring up Nisargadatta.
Yes.
Did you meet him personally? Have you?
No.
Okay.
No, I was in the same town and passed through it a couple of times.
Oh wow.
I didn't know of him.
Oh, at the time?
I was following Muktananda. So and he mentions Muktananda, and his guru Nityananda speaks very highly of him. Muktananda so, but Nityananda is one of his faves, and so I passed through it. Never heard of him, so I kind of blew it off. But I passed through Bombay, and that's where he was. No, I never met him, but I
he obviously spoke to you a lot, though.
Oh my God!
As so many of us.
Oh my God! I am that, and what Paul says always reminds me, and I tell him he reminds me of Nisargadatta because he never agreed with the questioner.
Yeah.
He would always bring them back to who's asking that, who wants to know that, just bringing them back to the source. That not getting engaged in their trip or and that's what Nisargadatta did. He just would blow everybody's concepts And he didn't care because he never collected any money, no donations, no nothing.
He didn't have to make
He didn't
anyone
have to
happy,
make anything. And
people happy.
Yeah, and when they were asking, well, why don't you set up an ashram so the other people would benefit from your teaching? He says, if I set an ashram, I would be a prisoner of it. It would limit me. I would lose my freedom. I'm available right now. Who comes is good. Who does not, I mean, so he was free to say whatever.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to cater to anybody or please. So because of that, he could, be totally radical and say the things that the others were hesitant to say,
of course.
and would never even touch it. But he's so radical and so, out there and extreme. Really, never wrote any books. It was just his, sort of like with Paul.
Yep.
It's his talks recorded and transcribed later on. And I've read all his books. I reread them. I listen on YouTube his stuff, and he and Paul are in total agreement. That's what blows me away in Paul, that he doesn't read much. He hardly reads anything.
Yes.
But he's so in line with the highest teachings of Advaita and non-duality. That it's uncanny, uncanny. Like he's saying that you cannot know yourself or nature of reality. You can only be it. And you can only know it through negation. Not this, not that. That is so true. You cannot speak of, because it's beyond the words and concept. Mind cannot relate to it, but you can be it. And you can only, if you want to speak of it, you can only speak of not this, not that, because you cannot. The words don't fit. It's beyond attributes. So, that's another aspect of Paul that I really love. That spontaneously and I gave him I am that. I don't think he ever really went through it, but
We're not talking about you. Don't worry.
Once you guys, if you want to eat, Amelia will make some food.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Right on.
Sure,
Maybe we'll have an intermission. Thank you.
All right. How long?
How long will the food take?
I don't know.
How about 20 minutes?
20 minutes? All right.
Thank you.
Cool.
I don't know. Are you hungry?
So.
Kidding, okay.
Yeah. So.
And you're allowed bathroom breaks or whatever.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
cool. Yeah. No, I just went.
Right on. Yeah. Okay, man. So, as you were saying that, I wanna. So this is a part of the podcast that I enjoy. This is a little like going out on the tightrope, right? Okay. So this is something that's been swimming in my mind, that I would like to work out with someone, right? So you're right into. Okay, cool. So let's see if we can work this out. One of the metaphors I use for the podcast is it's like jazz. Like improvisational jazz, right? Yeah, right. In that, so Paul, he said before that the message is verbal jazz, but it's a solo, right? And it's just he doesn't write it out the script ahead of time; it just comes out. So this podcast, if anything, is like it's like a duet improvisation. I play and you play somewhere. Yeah. So okay, let's do a little bit of jazz here.
Right.
I was what's been dancing in my mind, and what you're pointing to is bringing it up is Paul, the idea of him not reading a lot, not studying a lot. And he said something the other day, two things, but one of them the other day over Zoom that really got me was he goes, everybody in non-duality there's no monogamy in non-duality, right? Everybody gets it wherever they can, right? And I think Sharon and I have said like non-dual sluts, like where
I like that.
Yeah. Like, hey, can I get it from there? I'll get a little from there. And, right? There's not a lot of monogamy to one guru or one teacher. And then Paul said over Zoom the other day, he goes, the only ones that are monogamous are somebody like me that's sharing. And I go, oh, that's an interesting take. That hit me. And he said another metaphor that I haven't heard him say for a while. This was kind of pre-Zoom, where he used to go, I don't want to franchise. I want to keep it an independent bakery.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, there's many layers to that.
Yes,
So part
many.
of franchising is going out and hearing the latest and greatest in the
Right.
world of non-duality.
Yes, yes.
Synthesizing it and having your own unique take on it,
Right.
and this, and that, and as Rupert Spira said, or as
Right,
Adyashanti
right,
said, or
right,
as
right.
Mooji said, and there's whether it's intentional or not. It probably isn't in Paul's case. It really is a loss of interest in it. It's that independent bakery of nope, these downloads. I'm not getting them through the writing. I'm not getting them through research. The downloads are the downloads, and this is a clean. That's a word so many of us use for the message.
Right.
It's a clean, direct, no additives.
Right, no additives.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So that's something that's funny. You're helping me because I've never verbalized this, but this is something that I've been dancing around with.
And that is really I noticed that too.
Yeah.
With Paul, that he doesn't discourage people sampling other paths and all of that, and he has no problem with it. And the only one monogamous is him, which is true. and my take on checking out other speakers is not as much to see and compare their teachings, but it's almost like sampling the flavors in which self-awareness or realization comes in.
Absolutely.
And I'm always amazed how some people I can see that they are only in head, intellectually understand and do it perfectly, but haven't gotten it really.
Absolutely.
But those that I consider that they got it, it's just interesting. I think who said that? I forgot who said it, but just honoring all the clear minds, just and getting a sample of. Just honoring them, just being there and whatever, supporting them, and if you will, if you're curious, just getting different flavors of the same thing, and rather than picking up anything, because at this time, by now, I have all the concepts and all of the theories and all the path, I got them, and I don't need to add any more to it. But I, just honoring them, being there, whatever, and that's if I go and hear somebody, that's really my motivation, if you will, or what's in my mind.
Absolutely.
And it's like my entertainment, going to the movies.
That's it. Okay, you're right in the realm. This is what Mike and I talk about. Is I just the other day was saying to somebody that like you going to see Paul is like going to see Coltrane. Right. You're not gonna go and walk away with. It was really interesting how he played that scale.
Right,
you know what I mean? I'm gonna write that in my notebook and then go see if I can play that scale.
Right.
You're missing the fucking point, right? It's the verbing. It's the playing of the music. It's how they go together. It's the right, and that's the message too.
Totally.
If you come to a Paul meeting and you take notes and you think you're gonna go out and live it, you're missing the fucking point. Because who would take the notes? Zee would take the notes. Nick would take the notes. Self would. And the message is not to self. It's over the head. It's to the Buddha. So the Buddha doesn't need to take any notes.
No. I like that.
Right. It's that's satsang. One of the translations is a gathering in truth.
Right.
That's it. You just gather in truth as a reminder.
That's it.
Right? It's just a reminder. It's not that you're going to walk away with anything. Because you and ultimately you have, like you said, you have all the information you need. You have all the truth.
Yeah. That book, there is a passage that says, harder you try towards enlightenment, the further you get away from it.
Yeah.
And that is so true. And I read that. How could that be? Well, of course it is that way, because you establish, and then Nisargadatta says, your true nature is so close to you, there is no path. It's just right there. So if you establish path, you just divorce yourself from it. And it's so close to you, there is no path to it, there is no way to it. And I very much relate to that.
That's something Paul said early on that stuck with me, was he goes, if you come across someone that's like, hey, 3 easy steps to enlightenment, it's 3 steps too many.
I like that. That's
goes,
beautiful.
One easy step to, you're taking a step away from what? Or towards what? Right? And then it reminds me too of Keith. This is a very, I think, beautiful insight that Keith gave me, is in a lot of popular meditation, we'll say Western popular meditation, the idea of you focus on your breath, right? Okay,
Right.
focus on my breath, and then once I see my mind wandering, I'm gonna come back to the breath, right? So it's creating a space of you were in the right spot.
Right.
You allowed naughty allowed yourself
Right.
to get away from the right
Right,
spot,
right.
and now you're bringing yourself back to the see all the space that's created there, right? Whereas and then this is have we talked about Sam Harris at all? Do you know Sam Harris?
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah. Well, off pod. I bring him with
Okay.
every
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
not going to go too deep into it, but he's an atheist guy who got really deep into Dzogchen and a lot of stuff. And so yeah. So he gives the framing. It's subtle, but it's a world of difference. So okay, you're here, focused
Right,
on your breath.
Right.
Now, pay attention to where you think it is you are directing your attention to the breath. A lot of times we would say it's kind of somewhere between your eyes, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Down
right.
on the breath. And this is the big mind fuck. See that any sense of a location that you're directing attention to is also an appearance in consciousness.
Yes.
Now you have nowhere to stand.
Right.
Wherever you are is where you are.
Right.
And we're right back to no steps to enlightenment.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Wherever this appears can only be where it appears as it appears. Right. And just even as I'm sharing this, it's really pulling into. And so all that was coming up for me for the idea of like that enlightenment is going to be some future goal, or it's a step away, or I was really close and then I became really far away. Where does all of that appear? And it's again, Paul emphasizes this in a way that I almost hear no one else. Maybe sometimes some teachers hint at it. You can't be out of a moment.
Right.
I really have to work hard to get into the moment.
Yes.
You know, and it's like,
Paul really
recognize this was huge for me. That recognize that wanting to get into the moment is actually wanting to get out of the moment. That all of our seeking is wanting to not be here we are. Right? Is believing that right here is not enough.
Right. And almost like not enough for sure. And but also we cannot accept. We cannot stand being in the moment. We need distractions.
I need what's next?
Yeah, what's next? Because we cannot stand ourselves and to be here. Just be. It's too much.
Yeah.
You just want to distract yourself.
Okay, and now in the Nisargadatta way, who can't stand?
Right. Exactly.
To be in the moment.
That's the
and there's the huge instruction.
That
which doesn't want to be here.
Right.
Is other.
Right,
than
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there is a phrase that recently came to my mind, and it's brief, but it covers lots of ground. And it goes like that: you cannot fuck it up.
Yeah.
You cannot fuck it up, no matter how hard you try. You cannot. And it's really it comes to my mind. Oh, okay. So it relaxes that seeking, that non-acceptance of what is, and to me, non-acceptance of what is going on is the nature of the problem. It's just not that there is a problem, but just
the belief in a problem.
Yes,
for
yes,
sure.
we make it real.
And the you can't fuck it up. What I love about that is it makes you irrelevant.
Yes.
As long as you can get it right or get it wrong, you're incredibly relevant.
Yes.
It's all about Z.
Right.
It's all about Nick, and is he going to get it right? As soon as you go, you can't. And that's Keith and I get into this. I totally love when Paul emphasizes this is not a call to arms. This is a disarming.
I like it. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That you're not going to take up arms and go on a huge, heroic journey and end up right where you are.
Right.
You're already there.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Another thing of Paul that comes to my mind right now, it's not adding to you, to what you know. It's like withering away.
Yeah, the snake
if
in the
anything.
in the skin, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and so true. I mean, instead of acquiring more knowledge, more understanding, it's losing all of that. Just ignoring it rather, and yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, losing interest. That's
Yeah, losing,
another
that's key.
beautiful metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Nisagrata says it too, and Paul too is, really emphasizing that. But losing interest, because he was asked, well, how can I control my mind and all of it? He says, you don't have to control anything, just lose interest in it.
Yes.
Just, and Paul has this metaphor about the girl that he likes, and she's
In the
next
other
to
room.
him.
Oh yeah.
You know that. And I mean, that is it.
Yeah.
Interest and attention are so powerful, and we underestimate them all the time. We kind of shortchange them. Interest and, well, attention is also falls the same category, that attention is powerful, because what you focus on, what you give attention to, it comes alive, because he likes to say another thing is we create our own reality.
Yep.
Or
I was
something
just going
like
to say, interest is literally creating reality.
Yes,
Because
yes,
if
yes,
your
yes.
attention is on something,
Yes.
it's as real as you're making
Yes,
it
yes.
in the moment that the intention is, the
Right.
interest and intention
In
is
that
on it.
unit,
Yeah.
right.
And so if your interest and intention is on seeking that it's going to be somewhere in the future, or it was in the past. That's even regrets are even
Yes,
worse,
yes,
right? I
yes.
fucked it up. I had the chance,
Right,
and I
right,
screwed
right,
it up.
right.
Then what is that? And this is again and again. If I had to pin what the message has done for Nick, the action figure in this story, the father, the
Right.
husband, the coworker, it's the interest and attention. So much of my life in this story was in the past and future,
Right.
and it's been allowed to come back here.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm available. Nothing is available
Right.
here, instead of all the interest, all the energy being sucked up, being siphoned off to what's not happening.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. Desperately trying to escape it.
Yeah.
And because the mind is made up of past and anticipation of future, but it's mostly based in the past.
Yep.
If you lose your memory, what's
What
your
are- yeah.
ego? That's it. That's it. And and another mind-boggling sort of saying that I heard Nisagrata say, that past and future are both contained in the present moment.
Of course. Where else could they be?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And in a sense, you say, how could that? But you're right.
Yeah.
It's all here. It's and all of these things serve to really break your mind or whatever, blow your mind, and yeah.
Yeah, and that's it's been a theme I keep repeating, is that what I think Paul, when I first found Paul, I thought that what he ultimately offered was what I thought every teacher offered, which is the truth.
Right.
Oh man, I'm getting closer to the truth.
Yes,
This
yes,
thing,
yes.
this object that I'm gonna eventually get and be able to put on my shelf, the
Mhm,
trophy of the truth. And more, what's being revealed to me is what Paul offers is an end to seeking.
Yes.
Right.
Very much so,
The
yeah.
interest and attention is no longer in that you're gonna end up at some
Right,
truth.
right.
It's an end to that, and it's reconfigured, redistributed
right.
here. And now you can listen to the message, just
Right.
like you can listen to John Coltrane.
Right.
Enjoy it in the moment.
Yes.
But you're not going around. You're
Remembering it to the
remembering it,
all of that.
and the notes, and I have to live these notes. I have to
Yes,
live
yes,
this
yes.
today,
Oh my
right?
God.
Because it's again making you relevant. You
Right,
have to do
right,
something
right,
about it.
right.
Whereas the interest and attention is allowed to be here
Right.
in
right.
this, and then
Yeah.
see
yeah,
what
that's
happens
it.
next. The
That's
unknowing,
it.
right? Yeah.
Or the Sang Ming, where it says, harder you try, the further away you go. And it's so true. Like you said, harder you try gets you away from the moment. It's
Yeah.
just negates it, and you kind of escape from it, because we can't stand the moment,
No.
nor ourselves.
Yeah.
and we are forever trying to get away from ourselves. I mean, ourselves,
I know.
so-called, which doesn't exist anyhow.
Yeah, well, and the relief is seeing ourselves as what you're not.
Yes, 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 yes.
As long as you're identified as that,
Right.
which wants to get away,
Right.
that's suffering.
Yes,
101.
yes,
And
yes.
that's if you see it as what you're not.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and that's
Oh, yeah.
again, I've said like if you, for me right now, the way that the way the message is living for me is if you broke Paul's message down to one phrase, it would be see what you're not.
Yes, yes, yes.
Everything
yes.
stems from there.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's it's what lots of top-notch masters say.
Mhm.
You're not what and the same goes for another phrase, but it's different angle. The same thing. You're not your thoughts. Don't believe your thoughts. And that was big for me because like everybody else, I believed my thoughts. I believed them to be mine, and me, whatever. That my content was my thoughts.
Mhm.
And don't believe your thoughts because your thoughts will take you away from it, and they're not to be trusted. They're bullshit. They're just, if you pay attention to them, you'll see they're just trivia. They're just bullshit that passes through you. And you don't have to wrestle with them or fight them or try to shut them down, but you just let them come in as they will anyhow, and let them go.
Yeah.
The moment when you get stuck in them, whichever way, opposing them or trying to reinforce
Not wanting
them,
or
right,
loving them. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
It just gets you stuck, like a river flowing. Remove the obstacles that create the whirlpools and whatever, but just let them come and let them go. Just don't fight them. Don't reinforce them. Just let them be themselves, and they're not yours anyhow. But no, that's
that's a beautiful example of traveling lighter.
Yes,
right there.
Yes,
is
yes.
letting them come, letting them go.
Yes, let them come, let them go, because they will come anyhow. You cannot possibly.
The idea of stopping thought
Right.
is a whole lot of thought.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm not thinking. I'm not thinking. I'm not thinking.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, totally. It's just. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for the jazz, man. That was freaking amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. That was awesome.
Yeah. I man. We I feel like we got a little piece of your whole story. It's a puzzle. People can
essential part.
Essential part. The highlights.
Yeah, the technical stuff.
And then the punchline too, which is traveling lighter.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
One thing, do you have a little bit more?
Oh, I do. Yeah,
okay.
No problem. Yeah.
This is off topic, but just because it was one of the things that I would like to pick your brain on mushrooms. Not just psilocybin, which we got into.
Yeah.
But I know that you have a lot of knowledge, and I'm very much into Paul Stamets.
Yes.
And I know that he's been a big guy for you too.
Yes.
So I brought you some lion's mane.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
To add to your.
I need that for my memory, which has been affected. I had some brain radiation because I have a metastatic cancer, which got into my brains. So I went through what they call cyberknife, which is they locate the parts of the brain that have cancer lesions there, and they radiate them.
Kind of surgically, instead of hitting a big area.
Yeah, except they do it through, they put a mask on you, and there is a radioactive machine. They all get the hell out of the room. and you're there, and they freaking...
an inch from your skull. That's intense, man.
So...
is that an intense experience? It's got to be, right?
No, it's kind of... Well, the only thing you need to do is stay motionless, so they can get the parts right, because if you move... they zap the wrong parts. So it really. But I did.
If you feel a sneeze coming on.
That's terrible. Or even breathing too hard
too
or whatnot will get your head moving just a little bit. So I was sufficiently scared to kind of do my best to stay motionless. But the parts of my brain that govern the balance and short-term memory were affected. So in terms of balance, I definitely don't have it what I used to have. It's kind of a...
Is it a feeling kind of a vertigo? Or
a little bit, except it mostly becomes visible to me or whatever, is when I walk. I kind of do a little zigzag a little bit. It would be very hard for me to walk the straight line.
Uh-huh.
If I ever get stopped for
Officer, I swear
drinking,
I'm sober.
driving, it's just anyhow. But
Good luck selling that one.
Yeah.
No, I had a laser.
Right,
That's
Jesus
part of my
Christ.
brain.
Oh, yeah, I know that. Oh God, I was just laughed out.
Yeah.
But and so anyhow, my short-term memory is affected, and lion's mane is really I mean, it's supposed to help your memory.
Yeah, well,
But,
for me, it's in my experience, it's been the best thing.
Yeah, sure.
I'm terrible already memory-wise, especially with names and stuff like that.
Yeah, me
and
too,
the
memory.
it's a noticeable difference, especially when I take it every day. They just pop right in when in the past they hadn't,
Great.
And so.
And I'm glad you gave me this, because for a while I stopped using the lion's mane, because I used about 7, 8 different mushrooms.
Yeah, a lot of.
So I said, well, memory, I don't have whatever.
Yeah.
I forget what I need to remember, and so I kind of blew it off. I said,
That's funny. You get rid of 2 problems at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
You stop.
So I saw the good side of it, or at least I
Yeah.
rationalized myself out of it. But anyhow, so I stopped. But now I realize, no, I really do need it. So this is great.
Right
this
on,
is great.
yeah.
But I take the whole series of mushrooms, which really I never asked them to project how much longer I have to live, but basically stage 4 metastatic melanoma is, I don't know how much time you have, but it's not too long. I've had it for 2.5 years. I feel great, way better than when Paul Simi came to visit me when I was sick. I was skin and bones. I was about 50 pounds lighter.
Oh
I
my!
could
Then you are
barely
right
walk.
now?
Huh?
Then 50 pounds lighter than you are right now?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my
Yeah.
goodness.
Oh, I was skin and bones, and I could barely walk. I needed a walker, and later on, anyhow, horrible. And so mushrooms played a huge role, because they put me on some medication that nearly killed me. It was so devastating. They took me off because my heart functions were so bad. It was like, I think, 20% or 40% of the capacity. So finally they agreed to take me off that shit, and they put me on immunotherapy, which is supposed to aid your immune system to fight the bad guys. But there are 2 kinds of it. The one that they gave to former President Carter, they would take his own blood cells and kind of culture them to recognize the cancer cells, and then of course to fight them. But I got the cheap version, which is just they have a concoction that they just give to you. Anyhow,
Is it like
the nurse? And so I'm all for getting off of it, but he had no. I said, what's the other? Is there anything else that you guys can help me with, or whatever, maintain the status that I have? They said, well, no, whatever. So he said, no, you're doing great. He kept repeating that. I know I'm doing great. But so anyhow, so now I'm just on my own, and I do basically the mushrooms. I'll have at next MRI, I'll see how I'm doing, because anyhow. Mushrooms, I credit them for most of my success.
Yeah, and I've said this. I know lots of people tell you this. So I've known you for at least 2 years, because I've been coming to Paul's stuff for 2 years. And you look younger, healthier, more vibrant than 2 years, and steadily, like over time, every time I see you go, God, Zee, you look better and better, man.
Thank you.
So as just a tribute to something's working for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I create mushrooms with lots of it. Turkey tail is one of the main one because that's what Paul. What's his name? Yeah. The Stamets. Cured his mom with. And I wish I knew the dosage that he did it with, but I know he gave it to her 3 times a day, and I just do it 2 times a day. And what's important is to do it on an empty stomach.
Yes.
Because if you eat it with food, they'll go for the food. They will not go for the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Now, if your stomach is empty, they're such a voracious eater. Anything that they'll eat. So that's the idea. And, as I said, reishi, maitake, chaga. There is another Brazilian kind of mushrooms, agaricus Brazil or whatever, something like that. And then There is red yeast rice is
Yeah.
also anti. Yeah. So anyhow, and I'm considering the hydrogen peroxide, which is a little harsher, but it's reputed to. The idea is oxygen peroxide. The chemical formula is H2O2, and the water is H2O. So it's got an extra molecule of oxygen that's rather unstable and gets released in your blood as you take it. And cancer hates oxygen. It thrives on anaerobic atmosphere, just kind of a acidy and so the oxygen basically destroys it. And you can oxygenate your body by walking, any kind of aerobic activities.
Kayaking. I know you kayak.
Yeah, I love it. They have oxygen chambers, but it's expensive and all that shit. Yeah. But also this you can have it. I had prior to this cancer, I had the bladder cancer. That was about 10 years ago, whatever. And they said, well, it's a type of cancer that stays within your organ, and you'll probably die natural death, given my age, then, from this cancer. So I said, good, thank you very much.
Treatment.
Yeah, so they decided to monitor me, and within 6 months, I was taking hydrogen peroxide and the mushrooms. They didn't find it. I didn't have it, and so far I'm free of that. And so that's what prompted me to, and I did some research before, and anyhow, the mushrooms kind of directed me towards it. But I haven't done oxygen peroxide since that time.
The last
and I was doing it by mouth, which this book doesn't recommend it because it's harsh on your stomach.
I can imagine.
Yes, and but the way it's recommended is, first of all, you get 3% food grade hydrogen peroxide, and then you have a 8-ounce glass of water, and you start with 1 drop, second day 2 drops, it goes on up to 21 drops, but which I later on discovered that's a little too much. But I never could quite get it to 21. I would get to 14, 15.
Was it upsetting for your stomach?
Upsetting for my stomach.
Imagine,
it's a little harsh. So now I discovered that what this book recommends is intravenous.
Yeah, I was going to say, you put it right in the blood. Yeah,
exactly. And so I have an appointment with a guy. There is a physician and he's the only one in the Bay Area. In this book, they have a line of doctors that do that. That's their way of cure. And so I called one of those doctors that was in the Bay Area, and he answered the phone. But it turns out he's retired. He does not practice anymore. So I said, well, is there anybody in the Bay Area that you could recommend? He came up with a name, and he gave me that, and I called them, and they just called me back 2 days ago. And the drag is first consultation, which lasts like 3 hours, is $600. Okay, I could cough that out, but it seems.
Man, talk about supply and demand. They know they got the market cornered.
Yeah, they got the money and all that. But I had this idea. I said, well, how about phone consultation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, 15 minutes is 200. 30 minutes is 200. I said, great, sign me up. 3 minutes, 200, I can take it. And basically, I'll clear all of the questions that I have. How long can it take? So I'm going to go talk to him on Tuesday and see what I kind of feel him out and whatever he's got to offer. And I want to start with a small dose and just to augment the mushrooms, because I'm doing great with the mushrooms so far, but since I eliminated immunotherapy, and even though I will find out on next MRI, how am I doing? So, but I'm definitely going to supplement this thing in addition to it. It's way better than any of the alternatives. The chemo or radiation is really bad.
And just quality of life is just not worth it.
Oh my God, yes. Heavy duty stuff. And immunotherapy, I cannot do it anymore because after 2 years you're risking all kinds of side effects. So, so anyhow, we'll see what happens. But so far, it was kind of a lesson in for me to implement my beliefs
Yeah.
that I'm not the action figure, and time is a psychological thing. It doesn't really matter whether you live 100 years or whether you live 50 years or so. Um, and no need to. It's going to be what it's going to be. So I have come to terms with it. So my going is way, way easier than it was. So at one time, I went through a bit of a crisis, just kind of having to come to terms with that finality. And
Everybody.
why me? Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia.
So anyhow,
Yeah. Wow, man.
so I'm just going very lightly with it, and it doesn't, I'm not giving it any thoughts. It's
Yeah.
nothing what will happen.
I
So
don't-
I will do my best.
Okay.
In the meantime, to
Before I finish
Sure.
recording, we'll walk over there. Oh, that was 80 minutes. That was cool. Doesn't it just fly by? It
Yeah,
felt like
I know.
10
Wow,
minutes
8
or something. I know.
Jeez.
Okay, so death anxiety stuff, we do get into that.
Yes. Oh, good.
Into this podcast a lot, and it's very much in your face in a way. It's not for somebody like me at 30.
Right.
And I love ways in which the message creates traveling lighter when the rubber hits the road.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so it's beautiful to recognize that.
Yeah.
For
yeah,
sure.
Very, very. Yeah.
To recognize that in you. And then I love Paul doesn't get into death anxiety as much, but
right,
when
right.
especially in the Zoom, when people bring it up, the thing that has stuck with me, and it's been living through
Yes.
this expression ever since, is anxiety about death
Right.
takes back to the interest and attention.
Right.
Puts your interest and intention into a theoretical death.
Yes.
Into a theoretical end.
Way worse than actual thing.
Way worse than the actual thing. And in a way, when you allow that interest and attention to go to a death that's not happening because life is happening,
Exactly.
you're you're dead.
Yes.
Instead of the opportunity to be alive.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
You've allowed the interest and attention to go to a death,
mhm.
and that in a way, in that very funny paradoxical way, you're now dead. You're not living anymore.
Right.
And so I think it's such a beautiful thing, as you said. Time is a construct of the mind.
Exactly.
Is fucking huge.
Yes.
And so I regularly, again, it's not as in my face at 30 years old, but almost every single day, I call it the Ramana practice. I go, okay, I'm gonna die. Who's gonna die?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And-
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And I can't ever
That's-
find the person that's gonna die.
Exactly. That's the crux, and I do very similar thing. I sort of self-inquiry type of thing, and what comes to my mind that body's gonna go, no doubt about that. What's born has gotta die, but who I really am, I don't even know who I am. That it's very plausible that I will die as the river merges into the ocean, dies.
Yeah.
Does it die?
No.
It becomes the ocean.
The
So
ocean.
whatever is there, call it universal consciousness, call it void, infinite possibility.
Yeah.
That's what's going to be. Me as a persona, as an ego, as a mental construct, is not going to be there.
Yeah.
But so what? What are you losing?
And then the cool thing too, what are you losing, right?
Yeah.
I remember one day we were going to do a talk in Mill Valley, and there was a funeral at the church, so Paul had to call a audible, and we ended up doing it here in his backyard. And somebody said, Paul, did you tell him that nobody died? And and Paul goes, in this amazing Paul way, goes, no, because the truth is even worse than that. Nobody ever lived.
That's so true.
Right?
That is so
Nobody,
true.
no one ever lived or
right,
died.
right.
This is verbing. This is life.
right,
and
right.
it takes on this seeming,
Yes.
costume called Zee, called Nick.
Mhm.
But that it never. Not only will it never end, it never started.
Exactly.
It's here.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Reminds you of one of exactly much similar to that. When somebody asks in Siddhartha, well, aren't you afraid of the death? He said, why? I'm already dead.
Yes.
When you see me alive, I'm dead.
Yep.
And when I'm dead, when you think me dead, I'm alive. And it's just a trippy thing,
Yeah.
but it's true. I mean, it's and just on a mundane level, and Ms. Virata mentioned that. I mean, you would just think about it. If you lived forever, you would be condemned to eternal senility.
Of course.
And the frailness. I mean, you would not retain your youth and vigor and whatever.
And why would you do
just,
that to yourself?
Yeah, why would you do that to it? Yeah, I like
And
it.
that's okay. I know I'm keeping us from meeting,
that's
but
all
just
right.
so many things have come in. I thought of Alan Watts too. He used to talk about how he goes, we take existence as a given, and he goes, when you're a kid, it's not a given. This is a fucking miracle that there's something
Yes,
instead of
yes,
nothing,
yes,
right?
yes.
And so he said that's the reason that old people have to die. Quote is that they've taken it as a given that there's something, and we got to clear them out and start at the beginning of, oh wait, no, this isn't a given. This is a fucking miracle, right? And the cool thing too is that can a little flavor of that can follow you all through life.
Oh yeah, it's immense. I mean, from being I was actually depressed for a while, for about a month.
Yeah.
Just white me, all I live between life.
Which is a completely natural process,
yeah,
right? Everybody's got to go through that.
So it's acceptance. Yeah. So I'll go. I had a great life. I mean, time to leave the stage, the hook. It's fine.
Yeah.
So it's helped me tremendously. So now I'm having almost best time of my life.
Wow.
I mean,
That's so beautiful to hear.
Yeah. It's just so light and no expectation. I don't have any future to worry about because it's
here
been
you
very
are.
helpful. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. Okay, I won't keep us from food
All right,
much
great.
longer. That
Okay.
was amazing, Z. I feel the magic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and we'll do it again sometime.
Great,
Yeah.
would love to.
Right on.
As you can tell,
That was awesome.